All right, so before we even log in, I guess a quick message about version 4. So this summer is the first, kind of the first half of version 4. We really focused on editing and the overall user interface, making it cleaner, more user-friendly, and really trying to bring editing to the forefront to make that easier. The second part of it is going to be addressing some of the kind of subsections of Voces, such as grading, class management, assigning. So those are updates that we'll make next summer, visually get them to line up, and then take all the feedback we've been getting over the years for those areas and really apply them in in not a full reimagining, but we'll definitely be making some big changes there. Uh, so for login, the only thing that's changed here is Google Classroom is no longer a uh, connection through EdLink. It is now direct with Google, which means that as soon as you add students, you can update it right away. There's no waiting period anymore. But if you did have a Google connection in the past, that will need to be set up again. All of the instructions are here in the link that's under the LMS login. And that's going to have the instructions for your Google admin to set that up. If you've got any questions, you can email us. All right, so I am going to log in. And you will notice that the dashboard is quite different. Instead of just showing you all your books, we've got your class list so you can see all the classes you've got across different books. Then we've got the books here sorted by most recent. So even if you've got 10 books, the ones that you're using constantly are going to be up at the beginning. You can hit view all to see everything else. If you've got any books that aren't in your account, there is a additional books option that will appear underneath it. You can click on any of those titles to add them to your account very easily. Also from here, like I mentioned, you can view your class rosters. So I can see who's there and I can get my ID cards right from here. I can search across all titles from here, click on them to go right into them. And I can also manage some of my account settings. These are any account settings that apply across all titles, such as the student media privacy or video options, anything that is book specific, such as whether or not you want them to be able to turn or to see assignments from before they existed, or student self-registration, things like that. Those are all book specific, so those would be set in the individual titles. All right, I saw a couple of chats pop up. Anything I need to go over for the dashboard before I jump into a title?
Just a question about teams that I was going to type an answer to, and Neil did already, about if we need an admin to facilitate Voces even without student accounts. And Neil answered, no, if there's no student accounts, the admin is not needed. And then one more question of
Uh,
how we got
Wait,
here.
hold on. Teams. So if you're connecting with any LMS, an admin does need to do that.
I was mostly implying that there's not really a need to integrate
Oh, like
if you don't
there's
have any student accounts
correct.
because there's no grades, there's no rosters to go between. So you
Yes.
could have them do it, but you really wouldn't be using any of the functionality.
Yeah, the LMS connection is really a kind of an ease of use function that makes things that you can already do in Voces a little bit quicker because it just pulls the data from the LMS. So if you're just using it as a teacher only account, it's really not going to save any time adding the LMS connection. Kelsey, what was the second part?
A question about how we got to the dashboard.
So this was just through logging in. I'll log out again. And so from vocesdigital.com. I clicked login, and then I just clicked login again here. I could have also clicked on one of the LMS icons and gone through that login process. When you first asked that, I thought it was a big existential, how did we get here question. I was not prepared for that. All right, so I'm going to go into Nuestra Historia 2. Everything that I'm showing you as far as how it works is the same across all of the titles, but 2 is where I've been doing most of the work. And I don't mind just throwing a bunch more stuff into my menu as we're going. So you'll notice that if you used Voces in the past, this looks different. We've cleaned up the menu bars. We've changed the way navigation works. The overall content is a little bit bigger, a little bit crisper, now that we've got everything kind of condensed up top. So our general tools are in the very top. So this is going back to your dashboard, your help, search, your account settings, and logging out. So those are the same everywhere. And then our kind of more book specific ones are underneath. So that's our game center assignments, our different tools, printing, vocab lists, and then our teachers panel, which is where our class management and kind of grading resources live. To switch from title to title, we go back to the dashboard and then click on the other title we want, as opposed to switching inside of the title. Our internal book navigation is this icon on the left over here. We click that, it's going to open our directory and give us that view of our book. Clicking on any page is going to swap the content out here. We also have our previous and next pages at the bottom, which, unlike in the past, and they would stop at the end of a section or folder for no real good reason, they can now just keep going through the entire book by pressing next page. Before I get into changing anything there, the assignments and teachers panel will open up the same look that it had in the past. So there's no real changes to how the assignments or grading are functioning. So everything you got used to last year is still there. With the tools though, print, thanks to Neil, works much better. We'll go to a page with a story on it. Or some questions, either way. So if I want to print this story, in the past, it would take up a lot of pages. But now it is going to look much cleaner. The questions are formatted better. We might need to remove that toolbar, Neil. If you want to make a little note of that.
The summer note?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no reason for that to show up. But it is much more print friendly than it was in the past. Any of the stories also do have a print button at the bottom, which lets you print just the story. All right, Kelsey, I keep seeing chat things pop up.
I'm answering some of them.
Okay.
Someone was asking if it was easier to change the names of assignments, and I said yes, it's much easier in the directory, which I'm sure Kris is going to get to in just a few minutes of how to edit
Yes, I am.
the pages. And then someone mentioned maybe showing how we delete all assignments from last year while we're looking at the account settings there.
Yeah, so let's jump into account settings and talk about a few of the items in here. So we've got our active and inactive books. As I mentioned, you can add new books from the dashboard. You can see that list of all of your books in here under active books. And you can also, if we were to click on one, we have the option to deactivate it. So it just helps clean up your title list if there's one that you looked at and you don't want to use. At the same time, from the inactive books, you can turn other books on that you don't currently have in your account. These ones were the global settings. And then we've got our book specific. So student self-registration, that lets your students sign up and create their own accounts. As I always say, anytime we talk about this, turn it on for a short amount of time, let the students set up their accounts, then turn it back off, or anytime the student forgets their password, they will create a new account. And that's just a mess for us to clean up when we have to merge 17 accounts together because the students were bored. Voces Game Center, you can turn that off if you don't want your students going in there. Automated can-do statements are any of the pages that have can-do statements. After they press submit, if this is enabled, it will pop up immediately asking them to self-assess. Preventing unassigned work makes it so they can only submit pages that you have assigned, as opposed to, by default, they can go in and submit anything that's not teacher only. Hiding assignments from before students are added will, so if you assign something the first week of school, and then sometime in October, a new student is added to your class, if you have this enabled, they're not going to see all of the assignments for before they were added. So it helps keep them from being, I guess, overwhelmed when it starts. We've got our grading controls. Then at the bottom, we've got our option to delete all existing assignments. And that's also where our reset button lives now. So if you ever need to reset your menu, that's from in account settings. And then deleting all your assignments is a great way to just clean up at the start of the year, clear out all of last year's assignments, and start fresh. What did I change that I don't need that. All right, did that answer that question? Probably more than was actually asked. So from a display standpoint, a few other things that have changed. We've got the vocab words have a vocab details icon next to each word. Clicking on that is going to bring it up. If there is an image that goes along with it, that'll show up here. But this lets students slow down any audio recording, any vocab, in addition to the longer audio recordings that have the bar on the page. We did move to a more standard audio bar. So that's under more options. There is the playback speed, and that's where they can control which speed it's coming back at. That's a little more user-friendly than the slider. We spent a lot of time looking at accessibility to really make sure that the site works for all students, and that was an accessibility thing. The sliders aren't quite as friendly as just the options. Our text inputs, so any of our long text now has the option for students to format the text as they're typing it. So they're going to be able to set up paragraphs, bolding, italics. We've got our accent keys here as well to let them create a more, I guess, a more fleshed out response than they could do in just a plain text box. Our internal let's see, let me find a page with our internal keyboard with accents is still there for any of the other text inputs, but it doesn't, if you remember in the past, it kind of made the whole page move anytime you click on an input box. It doesn't do that anymore. It just shows up right next to it, not moving anything else around. And we can make it go away by clicking off of it, or there's an X in it that we can use to close it. In the menu, we've got icons showing for assignments as well as teacher only, auto graded, and can do statements. So as you're looking through your directory, it's easy to see what is assigned to at least one of your classes. What else am I missing in the on-page stuff, Neil?
On page stuff. Nothing that I can think of. I've been answering questions, so I wasn't really listening to you.
That's fair.
You covered the new summer note editor.
Yep.
Did you talk about the hoverovers being back?
No, hoverovers are back to hovering as opposed to showing up afterwards. We got that kind of cleaned up, and there is still the button to display all, and at that point it shows up afterwards.
Did you
all of the
full-screen
slideshows have a full
slideshows?
screen option. I'm not going to click that now since I'm screen sharing and I don't know what that's going to do. All right, so let's look at kind of the editing tools that we brought out. So in the
Real
past,
quick, Chris,
yeah.
Can you actually just go over the help section?
Yeah. So help is kind of an explanation of what all of the menu buttons do. Basics on navigating and handling activity pages. And then there is a report a bug, email, and contact information at the top. Students don't have all of these. I think students only have report a bug and email, correct? Or do they have the call option?
I don't think they do.
No, it's just report a bug and email.
Yeah. And when students report a bug, it does let us know who they are and who their teacher is. So when they send inappropriate ones, we can then turn around and let you know that your students are sending us inappropriate emails. So feel free to let them know that we know who they are. That might give us one or two less that we have to forward along. All right, so as I mentioned, editing was a big part of this whole update. In the past, editing was you had to go into the editor to be able to change your menu, and then from there, you could edit the pages, and everything was kind of disconnected from each other. So that's not the case anymore. To edit the menu, I open the menu, and I click this edit icon up top. Doing so is going to give me all of my menu management options. So I can move content with my arrows, and then anything else I want to do is in this drop down here, adding page, subsection, renaming. So the question about renaming assignments earlier, if I want to rename activity 3, I can do that right from here. Rename, give it whatever the new name is, and hit save. And that is going to change it in assignments. It's going to change it on the page and in the menu. So for moving, for an example, we'll move unit 3 up before unit 1. And we'll call it unit 0. And now when I save, my menu is now saved and applies to all of my users. No separate screens to jump into. Adding new content has also been changed. So if I want to add a new page into Unit 0, we'll actually put it into the introduction. That's where I try to add most of my stuff so I don't lose it. If I want to start with a blank page, I'll just call it new blank page and create it. And that we see it added to the menu. If I save the menu and go there, this is my new blank page. To edit the pages, we go to the page and then start building them. So I will click, we'll finish up the menu, then we'll come back here and edit that. We've also made it easier to add pages from other titles into your existing one. So if I want to grab a page from New Historia 1, so I'm going to add a page, and instead of starting with a blank page, I'm going to import a page. I'm going to select New Historia 1, and I'm going to find the page that I want to bring over. So let's just bring over this first short story. I get to take a look at it first. All right, that looks good. That's what I wanted. Import this page, and now it's there. I'll
And I'm
save.
gonna chime in real quick on this. If anyone, any like past Voces users, this is replacing having to share it with yourself in the sharing library. So if that's something you guys were ever annoyed with or ever had to do, this is the new method to do that.
So now that story is here in New Historia 2. I can do this with any of the titles, so it makes it especially easy if you're using a combination of Plural Mundo and New Historia to bring the materials over instead of having to have students go into multiple books. I can do single pages, I can do entire sections, I can do entire units. If I come here and instead of adding a page, I want to add a subsection, I can import a section. Voces Plural Mundo 1, Chapter 1, and let's say I just want to bring over the interviews. Let's look, yep, those are the ones I want. I click my import icon. Am I sure I want to bring that over? Yes, I do. And here they are. So it's really made it much easier to create the title that you need, having all your content in one spot. Are there any other questions in chat about editing the menu before I jump into page specifics?
Nope, I think we're all caught up.
All right, so if I want to edit this page that I just brought over.
Really quickly, did I miss it? Did you show how to make a page teacher only?
I did not. So if
There was a question about this, about hiding content. So this is how you would hide content from your students if you don't want them to see it before you assign it.
So anything with the Apple is teacher only. So students can't see those pages or any pages within that section. So because this interview folder is teacher only, they can't see anything in it. If I want them to be able to see it, or alternatively, if I don't want them to see Unit 4, I click on my options dropdown, click make teacher only. And then once I save it, that's gone for the students. Unless I assign something in there, then only the thing that I've assigned will show up. So the way a lot of teachers will use it is they'll leave the tests at the end of a unit as teacher only, but then assign them once they're ready so that the students see what they've assigned.
Oh, Melissa, that Melissa. I think this is a different Melissa. Okay. Or did you say?
Oh, I do want to point out, can you just explain the save and exit? It's a
Yep, so
new feature.
there's two options here. We can save or we can save and stop editing. Or we can just cancel. So canceling is going to get rid of any changes we just made. Save is for people like me that keep hitting save as you're working, just in case something happens. And then save and close is going to save what you're doing and stop editing. But you can very easily start editing again. So editing a page, again, we tried to make it more seamless. The previous editing felt disconnected. So to edit a page, let's go to an activity page. It's got a couple of different parts on it. So here we've got our multiple choice questions. We've got a longer question. Then we've got our content with the story. So to edit the page, I hit this edit icon down here, and that's going to rebuild the page in an editing format. So if I want to add an additional can-do statement, I just click add statement here. Same thing with my multiple choice. If I want to add another question, I'll click add question. If I want additional question types, I've got add block here at the bottom. I'll click that. Let's add an audio recording. Your response in Spanish. Because if you don't tell them it has to be in Spanish, they won't do it in Spanish. So as I'm building it, I'm seeing it almost exactly the same way students will see it. And once I save it, it looks, again, very similar to what I was just working on. And now this is what students would see. When I'm in here, if I want to rearrange things, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping them in place. It will automatically renumber things once it is saved. I can kind of collapse everything so that it's easier to move things around from one spot to the other. So in hitting this one up at the top collapses all of them. So if I want to move my text above multiple choice, now it is there. When adding new questions, or adding new blocks, I do have the option to import existing blocks. So if you've got, same idea behind how we could add a page before, but if there's just a part of a page that you want, a vocab list, a set of questions, we have some teachers who will take a bunch of different questions from a unit to create a test at the end. You can do all of that through importing existing blocks. So I could do that with this same title I'm in. Let's grab a question block from here, and I can scroll down. I can grab these questions. And now all of those questions are going to be part of this page as well. One thing yet another thing we changed and made improvements to is the way that rubrics work. So I'm going to go to a page that has a rubric on it. I can never find one when I need it.
Do one of the IPAs.
Those usually do have rubrics. Usually. Oh, come on, Neil. There we go. So this is a rubric type of grading assignment. To change the rubric, I'm going to go back into edit the page. And if you used it before, you know about all the boxes you had to fill out with text that was too long for the boxes. Now I just click where I want to edit and make the changes and press save. So if I want to change any of these, I would just click on it, add some content, and save it. When doing that, I can save it as a template, which I can then apply to other rubrics on other pages. I can add more rows or add a fifth column if it's a rubric that only has 4. All right, what have I missed or which questions are in there? I see we've got a lot in chat.
Yeah, we're all caught up though, I think.
Okay. Then unless Neil or Kelsey can think of something I've forgotten, we can just kind of go into question answering
Let's
mode.
talk a little bit about things that aren't in here now, things that were removed permanently, stuff that's temporarily disabled, like the sharing library. Someone was asking about the simplified view earlier, and I responded and said that's no longer an option, but
we took a lot of the things that we had done in the simplified view and brought them in here. There are still a few things, such as some of the different multiple choice types that aren't in here yet, but are on the list to add back in. As far as things that aren't here right now, there's the sharing library that Neil just mentioned. We are working to have that back in within the next few weeks. There's a couple of buttons that you may have seen in the past, such as viewing a student page when you're grading it. Those buttons have been removed temporarily so that we can make sure and get an accurate student view to show up. I'm going to look at our list real quick and see, but I
And there's
think those
one
are the
question
main
about
ones.
if we change the rubric, can we change how much the assignment is worth? So I didn't know if you wanted to just touch on how rubrics are calculated really quickly.
So when we're editing, let's see, how would, right now rubric calculations has always been a bit of a point of confusion because of the way we do it as a base 60. So if they get all ones, it's going to give them a 60% and then increase from there based on their scores. That's something that I'm hoping to change a little bit as we are looking at how grading works for next summer. Kind of adding in some additional controls around rubrics so that you can change that starting point, point values, things like that. When we're editing a page, so up here with the page title, if I click to edit, that's where I'm controlling my grading style and how they show. Point values are controlled in the individual questions. But when it comes to rubrics, those are based on, that's all based on the number of blocks, isn't it? It's 4 points per row. So the more rows you've got, the more points it will be worth. Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
On what, I'm sorry?
It's 4 points per row. So this one has 5 rows. This would be a 20-point rubric. If you added more rows, that would increase the amount of points.
I don't know exactly how the math works, but when you add the 5th column, then you're adding a 5. So instead of
Correct.
having just the 1 through 4, So yeah, I think the more rows you have,
Yeah, it's
row
basically
is
1
worth a
point
little bit
per
less,
cell.
right?
Now you can, when you're assigning a page, so I'm gonna assign the page that I'm on right now. So this one is 20 points by default because of the way that rubric grid is set up. If I want to change that and make it worth 50 points, I can apply a modified point value, change this to 50, and now it's going to take whatever it would have been out of 20 and apply that to change it so that the maximum is 50. So if they got half, so if they got 10 out of 20, it would be 25 out of 50. So that you can do without changing the specifics on the page. I do have a hand raised from Sandra.
Yeah, I'm the one that was asking about the change of the grading or the point value, but I think it makes sense now. I was wondering if you added the row, would the system automatically change the assigned value for the assignment? But it
Yes.
sounds like it would. So
Yes, it
I
will.
can just play with it. I just wasn't sure if we had to manually edit that or if it would automatically change it. The system would do. I'm assuming the system would do the math, and if we added a fifth column, would that change? Or if we removed a column, would that change? But I'm assuming the system is pre-programmed to, yeah, to
Yep.
know the
So
math.
yep.
That makes
So
sense.
if you remove a column or add a column, it's going to adjust the math based on how many rows and columns you've got.
Yeah, but I didn't notice that other change value on the assignment. Yeah, when you put the assignments in, so that was good that you showed that because I didn't even notice it before or forgot about it or whatever. So that's interesting that you
Yeah.
said you can change the assigned value. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, we've had some teachers who have said that all of their assignments have to be 10 points or 20 points or something like that, which if there's only 7 questions is challenging math. So it'll do it automatically if you set anything in there.
Thank you. Do I need to change my raise hand or did you
Nope,
did
it
you already
looks
do
like
that?
it went
Okay.
away.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how Zoom knew that I answered your question, but Neil may have walked over and put your hand down for you.
No, I think Zoom just knows.
Yeah, probably. All right. Just taking a look in here. Yes, you can embed videos. You can even create your own interactive videos that will kind of stop and ask questions as you go through. Let's see, I can show one of those if I jump over to blank one. So I would add an interactive video activity. Instructions. I can change the point values of the questions. We'll just set it at 2. And I can either select from an existing Voces video or I can enter a Vimeo or YouTube link. So I'll just pick an existing Voces one. Go with that one. And when I select it, I can preview it here. Then I'll create the block and I see here's my instructions. And now I can add a question. So we'll do, we've got a couple of different types. We can add audio recording, content only. In content only, you could add another video that you wanted them to watch during the video. Have fun with that. So we'll just do that. Select my time. We'll have this appear at 2 seconds. So now when I come back here and watch it with it muted, we'll see as soon as it gets to 2 seconds, it pops up with the question. So that's an additional way to add videos. I've had some teachers that will add the videos and only put a single question at the very end because students can't jump around. So at the end of the 2-minute video, there's just a question that is, did you watch the video? Yes or no? And they have to watch the whole video to get there to answer yes, so that it gives them a point for the page. I thought that was clever.
Kris, can you go in and show one more time how to delete all the assignments from last year, and then maybe pop in the teachers panel and show how to delete classes?
Yeah. So to delete assignments, we go into my account. At the very bottom, we've got delete all assignments. And then as far as deleting classes, we go into teachers panel and class management. And on any class, I can click on it. And then I have this delete option over on the right side. That's for my user ID, and then I can delete that class. I see a question in chat from Stacy. We can look at your account. I did change some of it so that some original content still comes through after you've edited a page, depending on what you edit. If you edit the story on a page, you won't get it if we update that story. But if you just edit a question, you will get the story updates. And we can connect separately outside of this. If you've got just a few changes, we can do a reset to make sure you've got the most updated version and then help you get some of your changes back in. Delete all assignments was at the bottom of my account.
But you would need to be logged into a specific book to have to
Yes.
delete all. So at least, yes, you would have to be in each book to delete all assignments.
And you can always schedule the one-on-one walkthroughs with us.
Yes, I'm about to put a link for that in the chat as well.
And so we're here with you every step of the way through it. So if you have any questions while you're working on Voces, as many of the teachers here know, you can reach us at any time and we'll walk you through just about everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't mean to brag. Well, I will brag a little bit. We take our customer support and our teacher support very seriously. So I know sometimes there's a hesitancy to try to call or email. You think it's gonna be, hours of waiting. We answer phone calls on an average of 2 rings. So it's about 10 or 12 seconds. And emails almost always the same business day. Unless you email at, 4:45 p.m., you might get an answer the very next morning. But it'll always be very, very quick. And we do take care of access issues, things like that really quickly. So as someone mentioned, this may seem like a little bit of overload, but we are always here to support and help you with any questions.
Laura, your question about making changes to grading. So when you make changes on a page, that applies to all of your classes. When you make changes to the maximum point value in assignment, that is on a per class basis. So you can kind of differentiate there if you need to. Does that answer your question? And then I will get to Sandra, whose arm is probably tired at this point.
so tired over here.
Okay.
Okay, my question is, what if I've had this happen several times now. This is, I think, I started during the pandemic, so I don't know whatever that year makes me now. But
That was about 120 years ago, it feels like.
yeah, Kris and I are
it-
BFFs now. He's like I know him. Okay. And yes, newbies, I don't know how many new people are here. Voces support service, the best in the industry, hands down. These people are amazing. So thank you guys. Okay. My question is, I've had several students who maybe repeat the class because they failed it, or maybe they were in my class and they dropped, and then they come back the following year, or they were in my class and the schedule changed, went to another teacher, came back to me. But sneaky kids or whatever the system, it keeps the responses from before. So let's say they were in my class last year and they had all these, they did their work and they answered all the questions. And then they're in my class this year and everything's already done. So they don't do the assignment again. So is there any way to clear
yes.
their assignments?
So that brings up something I should have mentioned about 47 minutes ago. Student work did not transfer from Voces version 3 to Voces version 4 automatically. If
Yay.
you have students, which doesn't sound like your case, but if anybody has students that they do want the work transferred for, just reach out to us and we've got a script we can run that brings their work over. But there was so much past student work that I didn't feel like we needed to bring it all over automatically. As far as the specific issue of a student having to take it again, the best way to do that would be to either reach out to us and we can purge a student's work. Might be worth adding a button in for that in the future. It doesn't happen a lot.
Already taking a note.
But the other option would be to delete the student's account and recreate them. And when it recreates them, it should be a blank account, as opposed to reusing their old data.
Great, thank you. No, it happens enough times with me, especially with schedule changes, and not all of my colleagues use Voces. So if they go to another class and they're scheduling, they're back to me. I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
choppy, but it does happen where kids have had to retake the class because they didn't. Most of it is because most of the times because they didn't complete it. They dropped the course or their schedule changed and they had to drop the class, and then they come back the following year and they sit in their laurels for weeks on end because everything's already
Because it's already
created.
done.
I should reach out to you. I just didn't know how to change that and not have purge their account. Okay, but it sounds like that's not going to be an issue, at least
It
this
definitely
first year
won't be
in.
an issue this first year on
This year.
V4. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll
Thank
see
you.
about adding that button. That should be easy enough to do and solve a
That's
few
great.
people's issues.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry. I'm Neila.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi.
hi. I have been using Voices for a while now, and I'm very happy with the program. But I have advanced class, and I would like to use a different book with them. How can I use different book with each different classrooms?
So each class you set up in the individual books. So if you go into Nuestra Historia 4, for example, you can add your class into there and then they'll have access to that book.
Okay.
And
And
then you'll
you can
create
add them-
assignments.
Sorry. I was
Go
just,
ahead.
you can add them to more than one book as well,
Yes.
if that's what you're asking.
Oh, okay. And so when they have to log in, they know exactly what to book to go to, or I'm sending them the assignment already and they will log into there.
Are you using an LMS and creating assignments that go there?
Yes.
So that the link in the LMS will indicate which book it should send them into. So if you assign them something from Nuestra Historia 4 and they click that link in the LMS, it will take them into Nuestra Historia 4 on that page.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Student drops the class early. Really, that's up to you. Kelly, as far as the removing the student or not, if you don't think they're going to be coming back in, you might as well just drop them out of there. If they do end up getting added in, you can always re-add them. Or you've got the license freed up for another student that gets transferred in. All right, I'm going to stop the recording, at which point I will remember something else I wanted to show you, I'm sure.